Hello and welcome back to Desperate Dog 48. So today I am doing some more simple models. So throughout the rooms and everything, I'm gonna have different like carpet slash wooden floor slash stone floor. So to do that, I'm doing a couple different models for different like floors throughout the building. And as you all will see, I do kind of drag in the blueprints that we made in episode one. Yeah. So I make like a medium sized room. I make kind of like a larger room, like a larger, I guess, wider room. And then I make the ballroom. On the second floor, it's just a much wider, like, it's a very, very big room. And then I also make the hallway that you see in kind of the more secrets part of the second floor. On top of that, I make two simpler tables. There's some of the secret rooms have kind of like almost like primitive stone tables. So that's the first table that I model. And then in the game rooms, there are tables for like chess sets and cards and just kind of like tables for people to play like a one-on-one game together, like smaller gaming tables. And then I end by modeling the bookshelf that's just going to kind of be copy and pasted everywhere. So I start off, I model the different floors and the hallways. Um, there are two kind of approaches to this. One of them is to make a cube and model the cube, and then UV the six different faces on there. The other way to do it is to just make a plane, which is just a 2D face. Um, the difference there is that if you if I do the plane and I model the plane and then I texture the plane, when I bring it into the programming software and I like put it into the game and you play around with it, I will have to be super careful with and like precise with how I place it in the building, because otherwise you'll be able to look down, and if there is a character model, you'll be able to see your feet sinking through the floor a little bit, and that just shatters immersion, which is kind of the last thing I want to do. So I went ahead and did the cube because I can set it so that you're physically walking on the cube, and just like a little bit more UVing practice. Um, there's another option where I use the pre-made geometries in Unreal Engine 4 and just texture those. But I just personally think it's better to do the model and UV yourself. There's pros and cons to both. I just went ahead and did it myself. So at some point in the video, while texturing the more primitive stone table, I do something that you should never do if you are modeling in Maya or really like anything. Um, so in Maya, there's an option to automatically create the UVs. In the voiceover that I'm doing, I haven't reached that part yet, but in the editing and video, you guys might have already seen it and what it looks like. In case you missed it or it went too quick or whatever, it just looked like this kind of jumbled mess. You can't really tell what face goes where, and it just kind of looks cluttered. It looks way too messy. Um, it is fine, I guess. If you're making a model that is kind of like never really going to be seen or interacted with, or if it's super, super small, like if for whatever reason you're modeling like individual pebbles that will go into a cave, You could get by doing an automatic UV layout for that, because if you're in a cave and these are like, pebbles the size of your pinky nail, um, you aren't going to notice that. And you, long story short, uh, if you're ever modeling, um, and you see that option to automatically lay out UVs, never do it. I did it in here mostly to kind of show off what it looks like, and hopefully it doesn't go by too quickly, because then you guys will be able to see it and you'll be able to understand it doesn't look good. So um, I do show that off at some point, and then I do get, admittedly, a little lazy with the UVing for that table. Um, that just means that later down the road, when we apply textures to it, there's going to be some weird clipping slash stretching with the textures. So when we texture that, and when we like pull that into Unreal, I will show that off to show why UV is like really important. But for the tables, the ones we model in here at the very least, there's going to be some really awkward looking parts to it. And the good thing about Unreal and just other like coding things that you can drag these 3D assets into, you can use lighting and positioning in the room to kind of hide stuff like that. So hopefully the like stretching and the squatching and all the weird stuff is going to be hidden pretty well. But when we get in there later down the road, I will make a point to show that off, to be like, this is what it looks like if your UVs don't fully match up, and if you kind of, like I have admittedly done, get a little lazy with it. Um, but this is the floors, two of the tables, and the bookshelf, all modeled. We still need dining room, table, and there's going to be two of those, but again, because we're working modularly, we can just copy and paste that. So we need one dining room table. We need like a more study, like kind of work table, which is good because that can also be copy and pasted between the library and the actual study. So that one will just kind of, again, need to model one, and then we'll be good for, the rest of the time. So, and then it is individual chess pieces. Those individual chess pieces and three different books that can be kind of copy and pasted to show like variety. Um, but the chess pieces are going to be tricky. So I might do more simplified, like simple versions of those. But when we get there, we'll see what happens. And then the other thing, if you have like paid attention to when I go in to save, you'll notice that there is a bunch of different files, and I never choose one of the pre-existing files and save on top of it. What I'm doing, I believe it's called a non-destructive workflow, and the reason behind it is if I mess up on one of the files and I like accidentally delete something and then can't get it back, I can go back to a previous save and it'll still be there, and then I just have to redo some work. It's super helpful, and if anyone is doing like any sort of artistic or creative work, if you're doing like thumbnails in Photoshop, or if you yourself are doing 3D models, I suggest this type of workflow, so that, if I had come in here and deleted the doors and the door frames, and then for some reason wasn't able to control Z and get the doors and door frames back, I could go back into a previous save, have the doors and door frames there, and then just redo the work I had already done. So I personally will vouch for this non-destructive workflow until the end of time. And I wanted to point that out at some point, because if anyone watching this plans to go into some sort of creative career like that, a non-destructive workflow is going to be so helpful for you. But anyways, these are just a couple more of the models done. We should be pretty close to being able to jumping into Unreal and watching the coding and everything get put together. Uh, Between that, I will do texturing. The plan for that is I will do one video, texture two or three things, and I'll show you guys how texturing works, why exactly this UVing process is important, and how it applies to textures. And I'll probably actually jump into Unreal and show you guys what the textures look like when wrapped around a model. I'll talk about normal maps, metallic, base color. I'll probably go over roughness and specular. We'll go over tiling and seamless textures. So that one will be, I think I'll have fun with it. And if you guys are enjoying learning about this stuff, I hope you guys will enjoy stuff like that because texturing is very important for games. If you've ever played a game, the colors and the looks of everything add to it all. Like if you jumped into a game and it was all gray, it would have to be very intentional for that. But I'm kind of rambling at this point. Anyways, thank you guys very much for watching and tuning in. We are just another step closer to having this all put together. And the models we have left are a little daunting, admittedly, but once we get past those, we should be really almost in the home stretch. Once we get into Unreal, the coding needed for the game won't be overcomplicated. It will be fairly simple, fairly linear, and it should be pretty easy, both for me to code and hopefully for people who are watching and kind of like keeping along. It should be easy for you all to kind of follow along with, I guess. Um, that's all I have to say. Thank you guys very much for tuning in and watching, and let's make a game together.